Let me tell you something. I've been a rich man and I have been a poor man, and I choose rich every fucking time.
Welcome to Market Makers, everyone. Your home for tomorrow's TA today. Often imitated, never replicated. Aren't the charts amazing how they are playing out to the candle? Guys, as you know, if you've been watching this channel, January 13th, I gave you the pivot low to the day on the S&P when everybody was predicting catastrophe. And what happened again? On March 14th, once again, with the eclipse cycle pivot, you got the exact pivot low to the day. And here in S&P futures, you're up 300 points since then. So I want to talk a little bit about the psychology of the market and how that ties in with the media. Remember, this whole sell-off scare is based off of the Trump tariffs. The media came out, the Wall Street media came out, told you how horrible tariffs are for the economy, how it's going to destroy trade. They instilled fear into the marketplace, which was echoed and repeated by all the YouTubers, repeating exactly what they say. Oh my God, this is it. This is the big crash. It's going to come down. This is what we've been waiting for. I was so worried about this. Trump's going to destroy the economy. In reality, I've been telling you, you're going to have the boom before the bust. Just like on January 13th when I predicted new all-time highs with the pivot low, which you certainly did make, you're going to make new all-time highs once again. The markets do not end in a whimper. When you look at this at the Fear and Greed Index, we've exited extreme fear. We are back in fear. The markets will make a major top, if not end, in greed or extreme greed. It's just common sense when you look at it and dissect it in your own mind. Understand, this is all very political. You may not be political. I made a video on tariffs, last Monday, little 1920s film for you about how they created a booming economy, a roaring economy in the decade of the 1920s. But Wall Street is very political. 3 out of 4 hedge fund managers donated to Donald Trump's opponent. 80% of all Wall Street donations went to the Democrat Party with Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump. And then everybody in the media, which is largely liberal, everybody in the media keeps repeating the talking points about the UMich survey. Look how negative it is, the UMich survey. They never dissect it for you like I did, breaking it down by political party. It was heavily skewed because the Democrats surveyed think the current economy is worse than the pandemic low. They think it's worse than the GFC bottom, okay? That's how the Democrats view the economy. Trump derangement syndrome. Hatred is overtaking common sense. If you want to make money in the market, know how politics tie into the economy, understand cycles, understand patterns, and you too can profit in the market. Or just simply watch this channel. Follow me on X at Market Canary. I release a Thursday exclusive video there every single week. Make sure you give me a follow. Be sure to like and subscribe this channel and check out marketmakers.trade if you want to join our community. So let's go ahead and look at some charts here, what we have. On S&P futures, big zoomed out view, looking at our giant ABC pattern. You don't need to worry about 25 different wave counts. What you have is Fibonacci based on the mathematics of the market. I think our target coming up here to the C point, 64.36. out to 65.50. So let's just call it 64.50, 65.50 is where I'm looking for the next major top. What happens with that next major top? Well, quite simply, That next major top, guys, I'm thinking is going to occur in the summer. July is the likely candidate. Been over this before, but we made a July top here. We made a July top here. I think we're going to make a July top again. And then I think we will have a very large retracement. And the new narrative, once again, will be, oh my God, the recession's finally here, right? Every recession indicator triggered under President Biden. But at some point, these fears will come to fruition. And I think what you will have form here is a major sell-off, not a 10% sell-off, looking at a 27, 28% sell-off, mimicking what we did in 2022. But overall, guys, as we've been talking about, you have your pandemic low. You have a low from 2022, and you will have another low. Will you still hold the higher low series? And if we do, I've showed you my 5-wave fractal, which we'll get into in another video, because I'm looking at this next leg with the rally. We are rallying to a blow-off top, and it's been tracking perfectly as we've described this year. So I think that target 6450, 6550 will come to fruition, looking for a July top. Then I'm looking potentially, and again, this is the probability part, right? For this bottom after a 27, 28% sell-off to be the spring equinox of 2026, right? This is based on basically how we sold off in 2022 as well. But these are projections. You don't trade off projections. You trade off patterns. You trade off support. You trade off resistance. And guys, I think we have the blow off top coming in, and I'm looking up there 6450, 6550 S&P futures. Let's move forward. How is this tracking to our actual fractals? Look at this. Again, we made the exact same W pattern over here in 2024. We made the same pivot low. We made the same pivot high with the lunar cycle change, just like we did over here in 2024. And again, we're rallying up until the next cycle change. Look, I drew this, as you guys know, weeks ago on the charts. Look how it's playing out. We're rallying up. I'm looking for that pivot March 28th to April 11th, just like this previous pivot up here. When you look at how this is playing out, you're going to have something very similar. You have candles go up and down, volatility, and then the pullback, and then you're going up to your blow off top. So looking up here, March 28th, April 11th, you'll get some type of topping action. We'll go over the prices here in a second. You'll get a pullback, blow off top incoming, then a major top, then a major drop, and then we shall see what happens, okay? But this is how I think the market's setting up. This is how it's lining up. And if you've been watching the channel, it's been playing out perfectly to the T, to the day for these key pivots for a new all-time high and now a major rally off the bottom. So where will this go on S&P futures? Let's go and just pull a fib down from wave 1 to wave 2. Depending how strong this rally is, we're about to hit that first level target. We're at 58.14. We have 58.40, 59.15, and then that 6,000 region, depending how strong we're going to rally. Now, again, I think we're going to rally at least to the 28th, which is the end of this week. And then what happens? April 2nd's the tariffs. Remember, the lemmings, everybody pays attention to the media. How horrible the tariffs are going to be. You have April 2nd tariffs. Maybe that pauses the rally, similar to the pause you saw over here to the left. You start going sideways. Oh no, what are we going to do? Could have some more earnings scares, things like that. And then you'll get a pullback and then the big blow up to the upside. Okay, that's what I'm looking at here. And again, I think that rally is going to take you out into the summer, most likely into July, as it did in previous rallies as well. So right now, watching this play out, this is amazing how it's tracking, because when fractals repeat like this, right? When you have identical pattern movements, just like you had before, it's a roadmap to tell you what's going to happen. Nothing is guaranteed, but it allows you to take high probability trades and look exactly how this is playing out, just as described when everybody was extremely fearful and YouTube's asking all the questions because they can't decide what the market's going to do. Is this the bottom? Should I buy now? What happens next? They're all fearful. They're all just reporting events that already happened, just like the news. They don't tell you what they think's going to happen. They don't give you the targets of what's going to happen. They just tell you things that have already happened. They play it safe. You can predict the markets, not with 100% certainty, but you can look for key turns in the market if you understand patterns, if you understand the psychology of the marketplace. Let's go ahead and move forward. What about NQ? This is NASDAQ futures. Same concept, guys. I'm looking for 23,000 all the way up to 24.2. Depends how strong of a rally we get on NASDAQ. And I'm looking for that rally to go into this summer, just like with the S&P, potentially a July top. And then I'm looking for a major drop of 39%. That's crazy. We're not going to drop 39%, right? Drop 37%, 37.5% in 2022. I think you're going to get a major drop. I think the market's going to end in greed or extreme greed. So when I watch these levels, these are big point drops. These are 9,000 points you're looking at. But overall, market structure, if we were to recover, is still intact with a low, higher low, potentially a higher low once again. But again, don't focus too much on this. I'm showing you these big drops because people keep asking, well, what's going to happen at the next major top? It's not going to be a 10% drop again, guys. It's going to be a big sell-off with economic data, with Fed cutting, things like that. And I think that probability is going to be this summer. So that's a huge trade. But until then, we need to zoom in and look at the legs, how they're playing out, because just like on the S&P, absolutely beautiful. Same exact pivot levels we're looking at here. March 28th, April 11th, looking for price to continue off of the pivot low to the day to rise up and then start going sideways in some chop. Get our pullback. Blow off top is incoming after that, okay? So what's the target levels we're looking at here? If we get a really strong rally, looking at 21.1, 21,430 for price to come up to and start going sideways. Give us the pullback and then give us the blow off, okay? That's the levels that I'm tracking here on the NASDAQ. And again, the NASDAQ, just like the S&P, look how much this is up off of the pivot here. You're already up 6.5% in NASDAQ futures, 1,226 points. Understand these market movements. Look at the topping pattern over here for the midpoint of the W fractal. You have the full moon, you have the new moon, you have the pullback, rally up to a new all-time high. Amazing, and you will see something similar play out again, I believe. What about the DAX? DAX tracking gorgeous as well. I still have my blow off here at 24,628. You're at 23,156. This is DAX futures. And you're hung up still at that 22,962, basically 23K. You're at 23,1. Little bit of volatility. I think you're going to get that final surge. And when you do, looking for the DAX to top as well, and then drop all the way down to 16,705. Almost an 8,000 point drop. I know it's absolutely crazy. What did the DAX do before? The exact same thing in 2022. Big sell-off after the massive pandemic run-up. Big leg C up. You're going to get a major sell-off at the next major top. Don't think we're quite there yet, but we're going to get there. 32% drop. 27.5% drop will be something similar to that. And again, that could be bottoming in the spring of 2026 if it takes just as long to play out as it did previously. Looking at the DAX on the daily, you can see how close my final target is, 24,622. You see the DAX just going sideways. Is it in accumulation? Is it in distribution? It's giving you some hints. You have your low. You're trying to get these higher lows in place. Try to hold this higher low. Want to get some energy built up and see that last move to the upside and then build a topping pattern with my Fibonacci confluence. So we want to stay above the DAX here, above 22,170, which is a full 1,000 points lower as you just chop up and down, trying to hold 23K basically as support to see if we can get that final move to the upside. What about Bitcoin? Been showing you this pattern for months and months. 3 peaks in a domed house. Peak 1, peak 2, peak 3. This is your domed house that's being built. This is going to be your left shoulder. This will be your head when this comes up to 132, 142, and then you will get some type of topping pattern, roll back down, get a rebound, and that's your domed house in a Bitcoin cycle, okay? 3 peaks in a domed house, which is nothing more than a head and shoulders pattern, but this is not done yet. When we look at Bitcoin just from some basic TA, meaning anybody on YouTube can do this, basic TA, what was your cycle low? 15.5, right? 15.5. And if you just look at this from the mathematical perspective of doubling your range, when you line up your trend line here, look how beautiful that lines up with my Fibonacci confluence of doubling the range from the cycle low up to the cycle high of 132. But wait, there's more. It's like a ShamWow commercial. What if we look at this from some other perspectives? We already know our fibs played out absolutely beautiful, right at the 162 at 109, almost nailing it to the dollar before 30% retracement, right? So we had that beautiful ABC expansion, but we can also look at this from a perspective of three waves to a top, 3 drives to a top here. Look at the 1618. Right on top of 132. Look at the 200%, 146. That 132 to 146 range, guys, is where Bitcoin is going to top. You have wave 1, you have wave 2. This will be wave 3 up to your top, right? So 3 waves to a top. You have Fibonacci confluence. You have a doubling of the range. 132, I believe, is going to happen. High probability trade up to that 146. Who knows? If it got super euphoric, maybe you could kiss 150. You look at this on the daily. The daily, you finally got back above the 200. It's important to hold it. But what's the key level you want to hold on Bitcoin? You need to get back above 92. Get back into your chop, right? Get back into your chop. Once you do that and you can elevate back above 100K, that's the next key level. Like I've been saying, that's where the magic happens. You're going to see the breakout above the 100K level, and that's going to take you up to these targets. Your 132, 143, up here in this time frame, okay, or up here in this price range. Very important to see Bitcoin do that. You want to continue to hold your 76K. And as always, when the markets rally up, you see Bitcoin move up. And when the markets pull back for that next leg, you're going to see Bitcoin pull back as well. Maybe we can get to 100K as they continue to rally up. Then you get your pullback, and then you get back above into this range. And this, again, it will be where the magic happens above 100K. 100K is a key level to flip. Before that, you want to get on top of 92, re-enter your accumulation range so you can get this energy spiral building for the next move. Let's look at Solana. If you guys have been watching the channel, we talked about Solana here at down here at 113. Every time it's broken below 113, you've had nice moves of 66%, 170%, and already you're up 30% off of coming down to 112, okay? So Solana, again, if it even just comes up to 188, it's going to move with Bitcoin, right? So if Bitcoin does come up to those targets, fully anticipate Solana making a new all-time high if Bitcoin does end up breaking out to that 132, 143 level. And when we look at this, just from a range perspective of our previous all-time high at 295, pulling down a fib, your key levels to defeat and conquer. I mean, you're going to come up, I think, to at least kiss this 188 regardless, just to retest this on a rebound, right? You're going to come up to this level where all these candles are, which is your 382 fib. And if you were to break out and you started getting traction above 250, you're looking at 345 on Solana, 409 on Solana. Big moves, guys. But for that to happen, Bitcoin needs to do what I think it's going to do. And for Bitcoin to do what I think it's going to do, the markets need to do what I think they're going to do. So just pay attention to how all this plays out. It all takes time, but you're seeing the proof is already in front of your face. What about gold? I think gold's coming up to a very big top. We've been talking about this in the last video or so, talking about this on the Discord. But we look at our giant ABC 3104. Again, just common concept here. Doubling the cycle low range here of December 2015. Placing it on top of our breakout of our running W or ABC pattern, you get 3104, a doubling of the range. You're at 3,000. Gold could take it out. Not saying it can't do it, but I think you're coming up to a major top for a major retracement. We saw this play out in the GFC as well with a 34% drop and then a nearly 200% rally after that. Okay, so I think gold's coming up to a major top for a nice drop. We're going to watch that, see how it develops. 3104, somewhere in that range there. Again, about $100 higher than we are now. So we'll see how it plays out. And let's go ahead and look at Tesla, because I think Tesla is going to have a nice breakout. Again, this is something all the limousine liberals on Wall Street love Tesla. Then they hated Tesla when Elon started working in the Trump administration. And then they beat the narrative into the retail about he doesn't have time to focus on Tesla. He needs to quit that job and focus on Tesla. He apparently had time to run Starlink. He apparently had time to run Neuralink, SpaceX, Boring Company. He apparently has time to rescue astronauts that sat on the space station for 9 months for a trip that was only supposed to last for a few days. And they sat there for 9 months. But he has time to do all that, but God forbid he oversees some spending cuts in the government, and that's what they beat up retail with. Again, the mouthpiece, guys, it's all a psyop. It's just manipulation in the marketplace. And then what did those morons do? They all bought Tesla down here at the bottom, and you got a 10% rally today. Right? You're up 9% today, and it's going to break out to the upside. My Tesla targets, even if we don't make a new all-time high, I think you're eventually going to get to the 385 or the $430, and it'll look something like this, right? Just going to crudely draw this. We can spend more time on Tesla on the X video. Going to crudely draw this, but you're going to come up, you'll get a pullback just like in the indices, and then you'll either make a lower high or you're going to make a decision here to break out to some higher levels. And if you do, you're looking at like 655 on Tesla if you were to do that move and break out to new all-time highs. Make lower highs, 385, 430. That's where I think Tesla's going ultimately. Guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to like and subscribe. Check out our fantastic sponsors, SimpleFX and Bitunix. It helps support the channel. Details in the video description. Talk to you guys on the Thursday X video.